There are things some of us spiritual people know that we do not speak of. A truly spiritual person will have spoken with things we consider dead, things that you consider dead, and most of the time they're the same. And we have learned of demons, we have learned of angels, we have learned of gods, we have learned of spirits, we have learned of giants and wights, and we know how to reach out to them. But there are things that we are forbidden to speak, things that I have never alluded to as far as what I know and what other people know who are like me. And I am nothing special. I am just somebody who worked his way into a certain level of understanding and a certain ability to hear things that most people cannot, things that most people don't want to hear. And it isn't always voices, but the world speaks to us in feelings. It transfers stimuli through our senses, yet our senses are not piqued when this stimuli reaches us. It is as if somebody has pulled the puppet master, but not the strings. And this is what it feels like to communicate with the realms beyond, with the dead, with ghosts, with spirits. It never feels like the exact, ghost or spirit is being pulled. It feels like we're bumping up against something just behind them. And there are certain secrets that I don't think I will ever divulge, not because I don't want people to know, but because there would be a great punishment for me if I did. And to think that it would be from a good or evil source is incorrect. Punishment comes in regards to karma, for those who, well, for a lot of things, but for those also who divulge things that people would use against the natural order, use against others, and it might even drive them insane. Lord knows I've gone to the edge of insanity many times, and Lord knows that I will bump up against that edge of the cliff a few more times before my time is up in this incarnation. Madness is something I never want to inspire in others, and some of the things that I know are maddening. They will make you crazy. They will make you question your very foundation that you place reality upon, because reality has no foundation ultimately. To say something vague, not specific, reality is a conception. It doesn't have a fabric. The natural order is purely knowledge. Knowledge, different levels of knowledge, are what symbolizes at least order, and possibly what is order is the varying degrees and magnitudes of knowledge about the frivolousness and the non-corporeality, the ethereal nature of reality itself. And it's some words, some lessons, some teachings can hurt others. Some sentences that I could say would not necessarily offend anyone, but it would snap certain cables that we feel are so taut within our minds, that we use to prop ourselves up in our minds, that we use to pull up other ideas in our minds. It would snap a lot of those cables, a lot of those synapses, if you will, if we want to extend this further. And it's really interesting to view society, to view spirituality, to view religion from a point of knowing some of these maddening facts, because a lot of these maddening facts, maddening teachings that you don't necessarily learn in a book, but as a result of going past the books and working through certain practices and certain understandings, you start to realize how precarious society is, how precarious order is, the common idea of order anyway, and how people aren't who they really think they are. We always have a concept of who we are, and the more I learn in the spiritual realm, about the spiritual realm too, the more that I realize that there is no definition for myself or anyone else, and the edge of my skin does not make me a different person. I am connected like every other person to everything else. And we have this illusion that we are separate bodies, but we are not. We are this kind of chaotic mesh of spirit that ebbs and flows in relation to every other wave. And it's hard to find these defining lines of where one idea is, where another idea is, where one body is, where another body is, where one spiritual understanding is, where another is, or where, especially where one religion is or another. You start to see that these lines they don't exist. They're completely made up. And they're made up because of convenience. It's easier to view all of these things as separate, but in reality, they are not separate. Everything is one. And it can be maddening for those of us who haven't destroyed our ego, who can't accept us, ourselves as being part of everything else, because we all have those individual desires, and those desires want to satisfy an individual. But if the individual doesn't exist, these desires, we start to realize, just float out in the ether amongst everything else. And every desire that we have actually is connected to the desire of the united subconscious and affects every single person, even if we don't satisfy that desire, one desire or another, temptation, vice. And virtue seems less pure once we realize that it is just as much related to self-interest as something called sin. That's why you have to lay it down before true enlightenment, before you truly destroy all of these boundaries. But I've talked enough about this. I have other things to do. I have other contemplations to take part of, and other, I guess you could say, beings to speak to, though I don't always, most of the time I don't use my mouth, and I don't speak as if they are right there next to me, but ultimately, everything is right here next to us. We just have to know how to listen. It's not about speaking, it's about listening. Thank you very much for watching. This has been kind of a rant on what you don't want to know. And a lot of people will say that I don't really know anything. That's fine, I don't care. But I thought for those of you who were interested, there are things that if you're around my level or lower, or, well, hell, even maybe a little bit higher, you'll be interested in hearing that there are things that we don't really want to know. And once you know something, there's no really taking it back. And we learn these things over lifetimes, and a lot of the time we can feel the effects of actions and knowledge of other lifetimes. But I mainly feel the effects of my actions and knowledge in this one and what I've practiced. So, this has been a rant. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been interesting, hopefully knowledgeable. We'll see. I could be insane. But if you like this video, I'll hit that thumbs up down there. And feel free to ask me any questions in the comment section below. I can't promise that I'll answer you, but I won't lie to you. And I hope to see all of you in the future.